Hi, everyone. This is Colin from Estrem Company, and with me is Sarah Mueller from Joy Discovered. Earlier this week, we teased out a little video that was telling about a series of videos that we're going to be doing this week on confidence, goal setting, imposter syndrome. And I can't wait to get into this stuff with Sarah. Just so you guys know, Sarah Mueller is the owner of Joy Discovered, and she is a success coach, mentor, and author. And she is absolutely fascinating. And I can't wait to talk about these topics. So let's get right into it. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me here with you.
Awesome. The first and probably the topic I'm most interested in hearing you talk about is confidence. And I see this all the time with people that I speak to in recruiting that are going for new positions or planning their career, and how confidence plays into that. So tell us, what is confidence and why is it so important?
So I think the most important thing to understand about confidence is that it isn't something that can be faked. It is something that has to be created. And it's important because it impacts, of course, how we show up in our lives and how we show up for those very important situations in our lives, like a new job interview. And as I had mentioned in our earlier video, confidence is something that is situational and it changes from time to time. So you could have really high confidence in the skills and how you manage your team and the results that you're providing at your current job, but you might not have confidence in a job interview because maybe you haven't been on a job interview for 10 years, right? So there's parts of our life where we can have high confidence and there are other parts where we can lack some confidence. And it takes really a process of creating confidence in order to fully stand in that confidence, which is very, very obvious to people. You know, when you're interviewing someone, when I'm interviewing someone, we can tell if someone has that confidence in themselves or if they don't. And of course, that's important when you're interviewing for a job.
Absolutely. No, it's central. And yeah, so if you're feeling like you're lacking confidence and you're about to go and do something new, what is the best way to gain more confidence?
So there's really a process for gaining confidence that I can walk you through. I'll do that now, actually. And it's really a 3-step process to confidence. And the first thing that's important to understand is that none of us are confident when we start out at something new, right? Like Oprah's one of my biggest mentors. And she, her first interview, she wasn't confident doing her first interview. Michael Jordan, I mean, there's the story about Michael Jordan being cut from his basketball team. And now he's one of the greatest basketball players that we all know about, right? So we have to remember that we don't start out confident. It's something that we create. And the very first step towards creating that confidence is to do the thing that you want to be more confident in. So really simply, I would say number 1 is action. You've got to do the thing that you want to be more confident in. We can think about it, we can plan it, we can strategize it, but until we actually do it, we're not going to see change. We're not going to see our confidence grow. And a lot of us are scared to do that thing because when we start out, we're going to suck at it. And I think it's really important that we just acknowledge that. Like we have to, as one of my teachers, Baron Baptiste, used to say, one of my yoga teachers, you have to show up and suck before you can show up and shine. And so the very first step is to take action in the thing that you want to be more confident in. So if we're talking about job interviews here, that would mean practicing interviewing out loud with someone or going on job interviews to become more confident at interviewing. So of course, if you have this big dream job in your mind that you want to get, you don't want to wait until you get the invitation to come in and interview for the dream job. You want to start interviewing with some jobs that you're maybe neutral about or you're not sure about yet so that you can start building confidence. Because
Absolutely.
As you take that first step, go ahead.
No, that sounds like a great idea. You definitely don't want to take a live situation that's really important for you and go in completely unprepared. That being said, life isn't perfect. Sometimes we might be forced into a situation like that. But when you have the opportunity to plan, maybe if you have a mentor or something like that, someone with a little bit more experience with you, and have them do a mock interview. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Like sometimes a dream job just shows up, which is awesome. And we've got to gain some confidence to head into it. And so you can have a friend ask you some questions. You can even, say the answers to a mirror if you have no one else that can support you, because just the act of speaking out loud, and we can all Google typical interview questions, that are asked on different interviews. But just the practice of saying those responses out loud is going to build some confidence in the way that you speak them. And that's different than reading or writing them down,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's something that's a good way to be prepared. And then are you saying that after a while, let's say after you've done some practice, possibly done some live interviewing, you will have gained the confidence? Is there anything else that you like to suggest to people?
Yeah. So when I think about that 3-step process towards confidence, we've really only talked about step number 1, which is the action, the doing something. You've got to do the thing. So in this case, it's you got to do the interview. And what happens is you then move into step number 2, which is gaining skills. And I like to say, especially as a success coach, a lot of people come to me and they have fear of failure and not wanting to do something incorrectly. But step number 2 is gaining skills. And we gain skills by evaluating our performance, by seeing what worked and what didn't. So if you go on an interview, you can check back afterwards and say, well, how did I answer this question? Did they seem to understand my answer or not? What was their feedback? How can I learn from this? What worked and what didn't? And from there, you're starting to gain skills because you know what to do and do more of, and you know what not to do or do less of. So that's really number 2, you start to gain skills. And then the 3rd step then is you start to see your results. So if you get good feedback on an interview, or if your friend is asking you some scripted interview questions and they say, hey, I really like the way that sounded, you're starting to get evidence of your results. And so it's this evidence that builds confidence. And so what I even recommend to a lot of my clients when they're trying to build confidence in certain areas of their life is to have something like an evidence journal or some way to track the evidence of their results, because we can forget all the good things that we accomplish. And in fact, our brain is programmed to spot negative and remember negative situations more than it is positive. So we have to remind ourselves of all of the successes that we have and all of the results that we have accomplished. And then when we sit or we stand in that remembering, that's when we're able to portray the confidence forward. Does that make sense?
It makes a ton of sense. And it's really nice to have it laid out like that. I was going to ask you, do you think that of the people that you work with, like executive people, do people suffer from a lack of confidence at all levels?
Absolutely. A lot of my clients will come to me and they might portray confidence, but there's often self-doubt in different areas of their life, or they have some of that imposter syndrome that we're going to be talking about later, where they're like, oh my gosh, when am I going to be found out? Or I'm taking on a new project, I'm a bit scared. I have the background expertise, but this is something that's a little bit new, that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. So I haven't specifically worked with anyone that hasn't had any of that self-doubt or an area of their life where they want to increase their confidence.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating topic, and it's definitely something I could see like almost everybody being able to benefit from. So that's really interesting. Well, I think next time we get together, we're going to talk about that imposter syndrome, which I mentioned is going to be something really fascinating for me. I've heard a lot of people talking about it lately, and I can't wait to get your take. And then we have some other amazing videos to come later in the week. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fun. We'll do it again.
Sounds good. All right. See you soon.
All right.